Watching TV has changed over time. Streaming has become the new norm. That's why Golden State Media Concepts Television Podcast dives headfirst to the world of cord cutting. Want to be on the loop of what's hot in Netflix? Or if it's not a preference, what about original shows in Hulu? We've got you covered. Join us as we fill in the blank and talk about movies to stream and what show you should be binging. This is the Golden State Media Concepts Television Podcast.
Thank you for tuning into the GSMC TV Show Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network Group. I am your host, Priscilla Welch. Welcome to a new week again. Happy Sunday. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, and season's greetings. I would like to announce to all of you, and as far as you know, if you've been listening to any of my content from since back in the last 4 months, I love Disney, okay? And of course, I am one of those fans that have Disney Plus. So of course, towards the ending of 2020, we have to end it right. I mean, it's been a crazy, dramatic, emotional, traumatic. Oh, did I say traumatic twice? Yes, I did. It's been a crazy year. And now we finally have COVID-19 vaccines. I mean, what else is next? I'm not going to be biased. I have nothing to say with that. It's a very controversial topic. This entire pandemic has been. It's just amazing how things keep continuing, and a lot of different deaths that keep happening, whether it's something by the government, something by COVID. It's just very, very interesting. And it's also scary, of course, too, for some of us that are out there. And folks, just please understand that there are a lot of people going through a lot of crap. And of course, I'm here to entertain you all, and let's just try to live life and be positive. That's what it's all about, okay? Nobody's perfect. No one has the right to judge. And that's how it should always be. So, of course, when certain situations that happened the other day, Disney just decided to break out everything. They decided to break out everything with Marvel, everything with Star Wars. And that's what I want to talk to you guys a little bit about today. Of course, I want to start off with Star Wars because that's like my favorite series of literally all time, besides Harry Potter, of course. And, of course, we want to get into, later on in the show, the famous country music awards that happened actually last month. I do want to talk a little bit about that with you guys. We have some devastating news in regards to that. And then we will end the show with a special surprise for you all. Unfortunately, it was postponed actually on December 12th. Everybody was looking forward to it. But to get into it, though, I hope you all have been watching The Mandalorian, and I hope that you will be very interested in watching the next Star Wars spin-offs. So, to begin, okay, drum roll, please. So, first of all, Ahsoka, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and many other Star Wars TV shows are going to have their own spin-offs. So I'm just going to go down the list for you all, okay? First, I want to start with Ahsoka. Okay. Ahsoka Tano actually just got a new feature in The Mandalorian. It came out about a week ago. And she was basically supposed to be, training Grogu, as we all know as Baby Yoda now, right? But here's the thing. She doesn't believe she can train him for many reasons. If you watch the episode, I'm not going to go in detail. You have to go ahead and watch it on your own. And of course, you can watch it again on Disney Plus. So all these other Star Wars spin-offs are coming off Disney Plus. There's actually going to be 2 other shows coming off the spin-off of The Mandalorian, okay? And then now we have like a lot more doors opening for certain things. So there's an article right now for ScreenRant.com, okay? And right now, Ahsoka's show has actually broke many, many records, okay? Because she was able to, also work alongside now The Mandalorian as well as the other characters on the show. Like, for example, Boba Fett. If you are a fan of Boba Fett from, the comics and the movies and everything, he is also in The Mandalorian. So, of course, she's breaking a record because I feel like Ahsoka Tano wasn't spoken about a lot, especially because she wasn't even in any of the Star Wars films, which is very unfortunate. And now, finally, we getaway for her to do that. So that's really, really exciting. Of course, if you watch the Clone Wars, you would know that she actually was in there, and she's actually the apprentice to Anakin Skywalker, aka Darth Vader. But if you watch the Clone Wars, you would actually know that in Clone Wars, Ahsoka Tano was actually confronted by Darth Maul. Darth Maul is actually one of the apprentices before Darth Vader, and he is the one that had like certain like visions that he could have stopped what was coming, and what basically made Darth Vader in that timeline. So you would know what I'm talking about, of course, if you ever watch the cartoons. I would highly advise that if you really want to know more about the story of Star Wars, how everything falls into place, to find out even the timeline of Mandalorian. I'm going to say this again because a lot of people keep getting confused. Grogu is not Yoda, okay? Grogu may be actually the son of Yoda, because Yoda actually was with another being just like himself, but she is also barely even talks about his wife. Because when you think of Jedis, you don't think of them in intimate relationships. Think of them as like, you know, ministers or something like that. Just people that kind of abstain, like, you know, things of that religion, okay? Because honestly, Star Wars is literally kind of theoretical and all about religion. But anyway, to further continue, because I really want to get into all these different that are coming out. I'm just too excited. I'm sorry. But she is breaking Star Wars records, okay? Her character alone, by finally getting her own TV show. And it's appearing years after she appeared in the Clone Wars. So, of course, this Ahsoka Tano is much older, just like how she was in The Mandalorian. And then animated movie and subsequent TV series, Ahsoka found her way onto The Mandalorian finally, and it marked her first live action appearance. So she literally made history, and it was so cool because they got the makeup right, they got her lightsabers right, because after a while, when Ahsoka Tano actually left the Jedi Temple, which you can also see again on the Clone Wars, she kind of went down her own path, her own journey. So she really doesn't consider herself a Jedi anymore. She wants to be someone that's literally for the people. So she wouldn't consider herself a Jedi, because at that time during the Clone Wars, there was a lot of confrontations going on, and a lot of people, like, you know, people that you would say that are poor, like middle class, living down under, they started to realize that, is Jedi really for us, or should we just go along with the separatists, for example? You know, people that didn't want to go along with the Republic. So there was a lot of controversial confrontation, you know, in their democracies and in their governments. So anyway, we all know that Lucasfilm, of course, is in development on doing this. So, and Ahsoka has appeared, of course, in every form of canon and animation. She has done comics, you know, novels, video games, and, you know, live action films and TV. So now, finally, with her own show, I feel like this would be amazing to find out, you know, what happened to her after Clone Wars. And even if you watch Rebels, she also has an appearance in that too. But, and like I said, it doesn't last for that long. So this puts her a step ahead of Boba Fett, because she is often tied with him. And Boba Fett has appeared, of course, in everything, you know, live action movies, even like the original Star Wars. But finally, Ahsoka Tano is finally getting her chance. He actually even appeared his character. So, like, again, if you watched Clone Wars, Boba Fett is actually the son clone. So if you remember, like, Jango Fett, right? He is like that original, like, bounty hunter. And then he had, of course, a son who was a clone. And that son now basically, you know, kind of took after had his father's Mandalorian, you know, armor, for example, and was able to kind of go on his own adventures and everything. And as a young boy, there was other young boys that were basically made in his image. But the original one is called Boba Fett. So it makes sense for Boba Fett to still be alive. You know, he didn't die. And that's why he shows up in The Mandalorian. So it's pretty interesting. But, I mean, I guess, like, they're kind of doing this whole thing again where it's, like, more females that are leading, so, which is cool. But let me get to the real juicy part. Enough of Ahsoka, because my favorite character, of course, of all time will be Darth Vader, a.k.a. Anakin Skywalker. Before I dive in a little bit more, because let me just say this. we have a surprise who's playing Darth Vader in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, okay? And he's coming back from the prequels, and we have Hayden, and that's really what the surprise was. But apparently there is nine TV shows in the making right now for all Star Wars. So, like I said, Hayden Christensen, he's reprising his role as Darth Vader. Of course, there was a lot of controversy. I remember when they first came out with this on the 10th, so about, a few days ago. And everyone was just like, all right, I'll watch it as long as, of course, as James Earl Jones is still, playing the voice actor for Darth Vader, because everyone has known him for so many years, even from the original series, to play Darth Vader with that voice. So the live action offerings includes Rangers of the New Republic. So this will be a spinoff of The Mandalorian. So if you notice, the female starring role, the character, she actually should be in this one. And then we have, again, it's set again during the same timeline for The Mandalorian, and it makes sense because they really don't like go into depth about what happened when, for example, Kylo Ren, aka Ben Solo, is a little boy. So as I stated before, The Mandalorian, the timeline is set in, Kylo Ren is literally like maybe 4 or 5 years old. So Leia and Luke, they're off, doing their own thing. Han is flying somewhere, doing his own thing. Leia's raising her child, being a mother, being a general, being a princess. And Luke is out, finding a whole bunch of different like Jedi and Sith artifacts. Okay, so that's kind of like where everybody is ever since the last movie that they all did together from the original series. And so the Rangers of the New Republic were kind of like a new police force type of thing, because the New Republic was basically after the Empire was supposed to fall down. But apparently the Empire, of course, was still there all along. As you know, if you've watched, the new series of Star Wars with Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, and of course Rise of Skywalker. So as we all know, Lando Calrissian, he actually is a character that is often underestimated and forgotten as well. And Lando, as you know, was actually the original pilot for the Millennium Falcon, of course, until Han, won the ship from him. And you would know that if you've watched the film Han Solo, which is just his own film. And he helped out with them. He helped out with Leia. He helped Luke back in the day. So he's getting his own TV show. And then we also have, let's see here, The Bad Batch. So if you've watched the Clone Wars, the Bad Batch is actually a group of stormtroopers that kind of went rogue. They're kind of like rebels, and their story is pretty interesting. So they were in a good few episodes, and they're kind of like an elite force. So there's about 4 or 5 of them. They only go on certain missions that are very, very deadly. So they're not like your regular average stormtroopers. Like, they're like the real deal. And they all have a different way of expressing themselves, whether it's through tattoos, whether it's through being smart. Just like I said, they're not your average stormtroopers, so you will not see them looking like uniformed. They have their own way, again, of expressing themselves and just looking rogue and different, and I just love them. Okay, so now we're gonna go to another short Star Wars film. It's actually called Visions, okay? And Visions will also hit the platform for Disney+. It's a Lucasfilm Animation is teaming up with Lucasfilm Visual Effects team Industrial Light and Magic to create basically a droid story. And we love our droids, right? So it will also introduce a new droid alongside R2-D2 and C-3PO. So I'm very interested to see which droid they're going to pick. I don't know if it's something brand new that they've came up with, but there are a few droids, if you watch the Clone Wars or the Rebels, that are really not as mentioned in the films or even mentioned when people talk about Star Wars in general. So it'll be interesting to see, which droid story they're talking about. Okay, and that's all we have so far for that. So, again, we're also going to have Acolyte. Acolyte is actually a mystery thriller, and it's set in the last days of a new era, which is called the High Republic. And there was actually a few rumors that I saw a couple years back, so I don't know if they confirmed this yet, but there is actually supposed to be a new set of series of Star Wars films, but it's going to be few hundred years way before Darth Vader, way before, I believe, that it's supposed to be the time period when Yoda was young. That's how many years ago it was. Like Yoda, for example, is literally over like 900, over 1,000 years old. So that's how far we're going. And I believe they wanted to talk about like what started it all. So like who was like the first Sith, the first Jedi. So that's kind of like where they're going now with that. So I wouldn't be surprised in the next 10 years if we get some really great content from Star Wars and continue to get it, because the story just continues and continues. So honestly, if you never watched a Star Wars movie, I suggest you start watching it, the originals. But if you really want to understand how back even from like when Anakin was still small and still a little boy, I would say watch the prequels. A lot of people may be against this, but it just makes more sense if you're now diving into the story. That's the only reason why I'm saying that, is to watch the prequels, then jump back, watch the original movies, because the original movies that happened back in the 70s and 80s is actually what happens after the series for Hayden Christensen and the rest of that cast, okay? Then you can watch what's going on from since 2016 with Force Awakens and with Rey and all of them. You know, it just makes more sense that way to me. So, yeah, that's pretty much it going on for Star Wars, and I just couldn't wait to tell you all this. So, again, you can watch this on Disney Plus and just keep updated for all the new content and the new dates that will be coming up. Because, you know, Disney Plus does take a while when it comes to actually putting out there. So they're now starting to, you know, create their projects and create the filming and everything. It's still, nothing is complete. So we're probably not going to end up seeing a lot of this starting until like probably next year, especially because of the pandemic. So anyway, coming up after the break, I want to get into what Disney Plus is doing next. So it's the next set of the Marvel Phase 4. So we have a whole bunch of TV shows that are coming out again on Disney Plus. You don't want to miss it. And I have dates for y'all. Don't go anywhere.
Want to know the latest and hottest music hitting the airwaves? Don't be left out. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Music Podcast. Keith keeps you on the loop with everything you need to know from pop, rock, hip-hop, and the top 40. And we'll throw in news of your favorite artists, concert and tour dates, and so much more. Listen no further, because this is the gold standard in music podcast.
Welcome back after the break, everyone. So if you're now tuning in with us, we just finished discussing about the 9 TV shows that are going to be happening with Lucasfilm and Disney Plus. Yes, so if you're a Star Wars fan, definitely keep updated on that, because again, 9. And as I stated before, you can watch this on Disney Plus. We don't have any confirmed dates yet, but I do think Ahsoka would be one to look out for that will be coming out first. Or it can actually be Obi-Wan Kenobi series. And again, the original cast from the prequels, the ones that played the young version Obi-Wan Kenobi and the young version to Darth Vader, they will all be back. So great news, I know. So coming up next, as I stated before, so we're now going to get into the Marvel TV shows. So yes, I have finally updates on WandaVision, Loki, and many other TV shows that are coming out again on Disney Plus as early as actually next month, but I'll let you know later. So first of all, it's Loki, WandaVision, Shang-Chi, and Fantastic Four. So they're actually, so here's what they did. Disney literally came on Twitter 3 days ago, and I was just browsing through, you know, just normal, whatever. And it's been a while since I've been on social media. So, like, I didn't get back on social media till, like, November 2020, okay? Sometime in November. Don't ask me the exact dates, but yeah. So, the crazy thing is, I woke up, and all I saw was Disney, Star Wars, Disney, Star Wars, Disney, Star Wars. And I'm like, oh, I already know what this is. So the TV shows that they went down this long list, because everyone has finally been, like, you know, waiting for these dates to come out, because we already knew Loki was next, WandaVision, and many other TV shows. But then also it's revealing for Phase 4 for the different Disney films that are supposed to be coming out, because as we all know, the story did not actually end with Endgame, even though it's called Endgame. Because, hello, there's like a whole new set of new Marvel characters. Like, for example, a lot of the Marvel superheroes and supervillains have children. and those children will be fighting against each other, you know, because that's how it is in the comics. And then there's a lot of different timelines as well. I mean, we're talking about the Spider-Verse, we're talking about Doctor Strange, and it just sucks because, first of all, Spider-Man is basically not owned by Marvel anymore. There's always some difficult situation between Marvel and Sony now, which makes no sense to me. And even rumors that, you know, Spider-Man was actually supposed to be moving on to DC, which has actually happened before. You know, for some reason, his character is just so appealing to kids. So, like, everyone, you know, in the companies that had a hand to deal with him are always fighting him. But we're not talking about Spider-Man. We're talking about, you know, the rest of this, okay? So, literally, 2021 is just something to look forward to. 2020 has been nothing but nightmares. Okay. So, first of all, the official announcement that Marvel took, first of all, I want to say is that we're not recasting Chadwick Boseman, you know, for Black Panther. In my opinion, I think it would be more respectful if they actually just did him in CGI, kind of like what they did with Princess Leia in Star Wars. You know, after she died already, they made sure to still use her and did not replace her as the general, as the princess. I think it just makes more sense, you know. So in 2020, so basically, here's the dates. Okay, let me just get right to it. So January 15th. So mark this down, folks. January 15th is WandaVision, finally. So that's literally next month, okay? Yes, next year, next month. March 19th is The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So that's bringing in something new beginnings, springtime. I love it. May 7th, we're finally getting Black Widow, okay? Her film has been pushed back for like a while now. I mean, it feels like it's been it's pretty much been a year because it's not coming out to like the mid 2021. Then in May, we have Loki. Loki does not have a set confirmed date yet, but Loki is a whole nother time loop. So honestly, if you did not watch Endgame, I'm just going to remind you. Now, if you did, in Endgame, there is a scene where they go back in time and use the stones, and, you know, they try to get the stones all together. And a good few of them are in different time zones in New York. Now, when it was back from the first Avengers, when Loki was first trying to go after the Tesseract, he actually used the Tesseract to escape in Endgame. When he did this, he landed someplace else completely different. So it literally set a different timeline, a different time loop for him. And it's whole new characters that we're looking at. If you've watched the comics, you know exactly where he's going next. So, yes, let's just stay tuned. It's just very interesting. The trailers, guys, for all these TV shows and, well, for pretty much for WandaVision, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Black Widow, and Loki are all out, okay? Then Shang-Chi is July 9th. And then summer, we're not too sure how that's going to look yet, but summer, hopefully we're going to get some more films. And then literally like the back half of the year, so like I did talk about this in one of my episodes, you know, earlier in the year, but Miss Marvel, she has a comic as well. And she basically looks up to Captain Marvel. So she'll actually be finally getting her live action show. And then November 5th, we have one of the films that a lot of people have been waiting for. Angelina Jolie is supposed to be starring. It's supposed to be a huge cast. And it's called Eternals. Again, that's November 5th. So that's like still a whole year from now. But still, like, oh my gosh. The fact that they announced all of this in one setting, like, you already know how Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok was already, you know, with the different memes and just because of everything going on in the world, like something like this, it's just very uplifting. Again, especially if you're a fan. So it just makes sense. But I'm loving it. I'm loving it. So I just want to talk a little bit now about the characters, the cast, and the plot with you guys. And again, this is Disney Plus. This is where you're going to watch it. Again, I already mentioned the dates. So as you know, WandaVision is played by Vision, but the characters' names are... So we have Elizabeth Olsen, yes, the younger sister to the Olsen sisters. And for Vision, we have Paul Bettany. So this series, like for WandaVision, is pretty weird because I actually thought, and I'm not so sure anymore now, I actually thought that WandaVision was supposed to be set in the timeline where it was like a whole like 2 to 3 years missing when the Avengers weren't together anymore before Endgame, okay, and before Infinity Wars as well. So that time lapse, but I don't know. This just seems something completely different. So it's interesting because Doctor Strange is supposed to be connected to Spider-Verse, and it looks like also it's supposed to be connected to WandaVision. So actually, and I quote, this is from the CNET.com. So speaking with Entertainment Weekly, Afige confirmed that the series will directly set up 2022's Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, with Olsen set to star alongside Benedict Cumberbatch as Stephen Strange. Page also told EW the sitcom-esque series won't rely on past Marvel films, potentially creating new fans. Okay? And it's like it's not even like a spin-off. It's like the TV shows, for some reason, doesn't even seem that relatable to what was going on in the films. It's like something completely different. So I'm really excited to see all of these. And of course, as you know, for Loki, we have the actor. We have Tom Hiddleston, of course, returning back as Loki. Loki is honestly one of my favorite villains. I love him to death. He brings that spice. And I was so happy that he escaped in Endgame because, as you all know, in the beginning, you know what happened. So he is a trickster, okay? You know, that's what Loki is known for. I mean, that's what Loki also means. Mysterious, tricky, always have something up his sleeve. But he also can be very predictable at times, which is why you know what happened. But the trailer, oh my gosh, you have to watch the trailer. The trailer is literally like something that is so trippy and tricky all in one. And there is even a scene in the trailer where he doesn't have that long hair anymore as Loki. I mean, even his helmet, for God's sakes, it's not even like, you know, the longish horns that he had even from the first one. It's like they shortened it down for some reason. But he has his natural hair. He has a normal suit on. And he's literally hopping out of a plane and disappearing literally in the time loop. And I'm just like, what just happened? So here's the interesting part to it. So as you all know, here's my theory with Endgame. Now, when he disappears and he goes into wherever he goes into the other dimension, for some reason, he disappears as he's hopping out of the plane. And the last thing he says, oh, Thor Heimdall, I hope you're ready for me. And as he jumps out the plane, though, he disappears. So it's like he literally was supposed to, like, get caught up by Heimdall, like how he usually used the rainbow bridge to actually, like, you know, bring people up and everything. For some reason, though, when he looks like he was about to get absorbed by the bridge, he disappears. And all you see is just, you know, pieces of his clothing just in the air, just like how everybody, you know, went away when that situation happened. So I was like, well, are they going to bring him back again? Because it's like he disappeared, you know, in Infinity Wars. Because if you know what happened, and then now in Endgame, it just tells you everything with the time lapse, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is so confusing. You have to watch the trailer though. You have to do it. So, but also the series is actually going to star for Loki, Owen Wilson, Juju Bathara, Sophia DiMartino, Onwunmi Masaku, and Richard E. Grant. They're also going to be in the series. It's so devastating. Oh my gosh. But it's going to be like crazy, really crazy. It's supposed to be like a crime thriller too, so this should be really interesting because again, we have like some new faces in here. So I'm really excited for this. I really am. And also I would like to point out, if you watch, you know, Captain Marvel, you were introduced to the Skrulls, and the Skrulls, there are people that alien forms actually can shapeshift pretty much into anyone and anything. And they're actually, so it's called Secret Invasion. It's actually starring Samuel Jackson as Nick Fury, of course, and he will be back together with Ben, who plays Talos, and it focuses on the shape-shifting Skrulls on Earth. Okay, so that'll be interesting to watch. And then we have Ironheart. Riri Williams is actually getting her moment. Dominique Thorne will play the young genius in the new series, which Phage confirmed a crossover with the larger MCU films. Then we have Armor Wars, where Don Cheadle returns as War Machine, facing consequences of Tony Stark's worst nightmare. And then the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. So I actually thought that this was going to come out for this year. It would have been nice to see something new with Marvel, just doing something for the holidays, but this is actually not coming out until winter 2022. I don't understand, but whatever. And it's actually ahead of the third assembly. And James Gunn, he is in the series, of course, but it's just like a one-off for him. And then I Am Groot. It's coming out with an animated series of shorts, you know, featuring just literally Groot. So, of course, fans will go crazy for that. Kids will go crazy for that. We love Groot. Yeah, so coming down to it, though, again, I'm excited for The Falcon and Winter Soldier. Of course, The Falcon is now the new Captain America. Again, if you know that, if you've watched Endgame. So I'm excited for March 2021. It's going to be a fun ride. And, of course, we have Sebastian Stan and we have Daniel Bro. So, and it's so cute because they really have like a bro relationship in, you know, real life, if you ever watched any of their interviews that they do. So I think that'll be interesting. And another thing I would like to mention is Black Widow on Disney Plus. So, which makes sense, especially because a lot of people do not feel comfortable going to movie theaters. I mean, a lot of these states recently had just been shut down again. So movie theaters, of course, are closing down again. And of course, everybody knows that the new thing is streaming, right? So she was actually supposed to be released on May 7th, but we just don't know when exactly it's going to hit Disney Plus. And I really just hope they don't do what they did with Mulan, for example. You may have listened to one of those other episodes that I've talked about with Mulan, how you had to pay the extra money if you wanted to see it early. But it recently, if you wanted to know, Mulan just got on Disney Plus earlier this month, finally, for free, if you ever wanted to watch that. And as for Black Widow, though, so hopefully it does come out May 7th or maybe a week after, but I just hope they don't do like that premium pay where you have to actually pay like an extra $19.99 or $20 just to watch it right away, because everyone's been waiting for it. Okay, and then Shang-Chi, like I said, it has a summer release, so it's actually going to be Simu Liu, Tony Leung, Awkwafina, then we have Menger Zhang, then we have Michelle Yeoh, and then we have Ronnie Cheng, and Fela Chen, and then Florian Montaño. And it's actually set for July 9th, 2021. And this is actually The Legend of the Ten Rings. So that would be interesting as well. And I love the fact that they have a lot of diversity with Asian Pacific actors and actresses. We need more of that. And then, as I stated again, for Fantastic Four has finally been confirmed. I'm glad that they're remaking this, especially because Marvel owns these characters. And, I mean, the Marvel movies that for Fantastic Four that came out weren't all bad, but we all know, like, we're waiting now to see what they're going to do with X-Men, and I can't wait for them to remake it to give that Marvel edge to it, because obviously the X-Men movies kind of, like, just did horrible after a while. So the third Ant-Man film has a name now. It's actually called Ant-Man and the Wasp, and it's called Quantumania. And Peyton Reed is the director, and Paul Rudd, and Evangeline Lilly returns as the title characters, along with Michael Douglas and Michelle Pfeiffer reprising their previous roles. And we also have Jonathan Majors from Lovecraft Country will play Kang the Conqueror. Oh my god, I was so excited for this when I saw this. Oh my gosh. And then we have Cassie Lange. She actually has been recast. Unfortunately, it's not the original young woman that played her in Endgame when Cassie finally got older. Cassie Lange, of course, is Ant-Man's daughter. And she will be recast as Catherine Newton. Catherine Newton will be playing her. And then we also have Thor, Love and Thunder coming out as well. So they're actually beginning filming early next year in 2021. And Christian Bale is actually joining the cast as Gore the God Butcher. So it'll be very interesting to see him in this. And then again, with Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness, that's also beginning next year. Again, we have Benedict Cumberbatch and so many others joining his cast. And then Brie Larson, aka Captain Marvel, she's coming back as Captain Marvel again, despite what any nasty comments people had to say when her film came out. But it's supposed to be directed by Nia DaCosta, and it includes, Miss Marvel and the adult Monica Rambeau. And also we have Tiana Paris in WandaVision that is supposed to be in Captain Marvel too. So everything is pretty much connecting. And then finally, Marvel's first family will join the Marvel Cinematic Universe in a future film currently referred to as Fantastic Four, to be helmed by MCU Spider-Man director John Watts. And the article continues to say, you can breathe now. 2021 is going to be a long year, hopefully in the opposite way 2020 was. So that is just amazing. Oh, I can't wait. I really can't. So yes, so that's all we have going on now for Disney. So coming up after the break, I want to get into what happened last month for the Country Music Awards and a recent passing. So don't go anywhere.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back after the break, everyone. Thank you again so much for listening and tuning in tonight to the GSMC TV Show Podcast Network group. So if you just are now tuning in with us, we just finished discussing basically phase 4 for Marvel's TV shows and films. So again, just look out for the dates. Everything is being updated and it will be on Disney+. So coming up next, I want to talk about the Country Music Awards. Now, I don't really like country music like that. It depends on what it is. But I feel like this is something that definitely needs to be talked about. And it's very serious. So I do want to talk about, of course, like the different performers and the winners and everything. But here's what I do want to start off with. So apparently the Country Music Awards was a maskless show. Yes, a maskless show. Emphasis on that. Here's my thing. There's a lot of controversy going on with the pandemic, with the COVID-19 vaccine, everything like that. But what I don't understand is if we know certain symptoms for something, if we've seen people die, if we've seen people get this because of sneezing, of coughing, or just, naturally, obviously, I guess now breathing on people now because that's how serious this thing is. And again, I'm not trying to be biased. People can do what they want. I don't really care. But what I just don't understand is how you can have an entire show and have a whole bunch of different fans and celebrities and people and, just regular workers, of course, too, that are behind the scenes. We can't forget about those. I mean, where would we be if they weren't there? Like the stage crew and camera crew and, the photographers and the streamers, the vloggers, people that actually work behind the scenes but don't get acknowledged. But no mass people? And because of this, a lot of controversy is going on because a famous black country music star has just died. And again, the CMAs was just last month. So I'm going to go into a little bit about that later. But to talk just a little bit about the Country Music Awards. So for the winners, we actually had Entertainer of the Year, Eric Church. We had Entertainer of the Year, Luke Combs. Entertainer of the Year, Miranda Lambert, Carrie Underwood. And then we also had Keith Urban, okay? So they were actually nominees. I will get into the winners later. And then for Female Vocalists of the Year, we had Maren Morris, we had Miranda Lambert, Ashley McBride, Casey Musgraves, we had Carrie Underwood, Luke Combs again, and then Eric Church is going into now the Male Vocalist of the Year. We had Thomas Rhett, we had Chris Stapleton, we had Keith Urban, we had Old Dominion going into Vocal Group of the Year. We had Lady A. We had Little Big Town, Midland, Rascal Flatts. And now going into Vocal Duo of the Year, we had Dan and Shay, Brooks and Dunn, Brothers Osborne, Florida Georgia Line, Maddie and Tay, Morgan Wallen, so New Artist of the Year now, Jimmy Allen, Ingrid Andress, Gabby Barrett, Carly Pierce, And now for album of the year, What You See Is What You Get from Luke Combs, Heartache Medication, John Party, Never Will, Ashley McBryde, Old Dominion by Old Dominion, Wild Card, Miranda Lambert, The Bones by Maren Morris, 10,000 Hours. This was, again, Dan and Shay with Justin Bieber. Bear Never Broke My Heart, Luke Combs. Bluebird by Miranda Lambert. So we're getting into, again, this is single of the year. So Bear Never Broke My Heart, Luke Combs. Bluebird, Miranda Lambert. I Hope, Gabby Barrett. Now we're getting into song of the year. We have The Bones, Bluebird, Even Though I'm Leaving, I Hope You're Happy Now, More Hearts Than Mine. And now musical event of the year. I Hope You're Happy Now, 10,000 Hours, Be a Light, The Bones, Fooled Around and Fell in Love. That's another music event of the year. Music video of the year is Bluebird by Miranda Lambert, 10,000 Hours, Dan and Shay with Justin Bieber. Homemade, Jake Ogun, I Hope You're Happy Now, Carly Pearce and Lee Brice. Second one to know. Musician of the year, we have Janae Fleenor, we have Paul Franklin, Rob McNally, Ilya Tashinsky, and then musician of the year, we have Derek Wells. Okay. So, and now for the winners. Entertainer of the year, Eric Church. Female vocalist of the year, Maren Morris. Male vocalist of the year, Luke Combs. Vocal group of the year, Old Dominion. Vocal duo of the year, Dan and Shay. New artist of the year, Morgan Wallen. Album of the year, What You See Is What You Get. Single of the year, The Bones. Song of the year is The Bones Again. They're just winning, huh? Musical event of the year is I Hope You're Happy Now. That is the winner. And then we also have music video of the year, Bluebird by Miranda Lambert. Visuals must have been crazy. I've never actually saw the music video myself, but Janae Fleenor, we have musician of the year. She is the winner. And those are the winners for the CMAs last year. And I believe it was November 21 because it came out like a few days before Thanksgiving. And you can actually go to CMAawards.com to actually see the winners and nominees. You can actually stream the official playlist, so like everyone performing. And you can actually also see photos from the show, and you can also buy merch from the show. But I'm honestly just highly upset that this was a massive award event, because here's why. The Billboard Awards, the BET Awards, the Hip Hop Awards, I believe it was also the VMAs, they all were pretty much all the award shows that, you know, most of the time people will more watch compared to the Country Music Awards. They all were done literally either virtual or they were done in some type of creative way where everyone was healthy and safe. So I just don't understand why the same thing couldn't have been accomplished for the Country Music Awards. And I feel like that's outrageous, again, no matter what your belief is. And Charlie Pride is actually the pioneering Black country music legend. He actually died of COVID-19 at 86 years old. So just a little bit about him. So this actually was updated on December 12th at 4:42 p.m. So the article is from abcnews.com. They were one of the first to actually announce it. And it goes, Charlie Pride, the pioneering Black country music legend who topped the charts with dozens of songs, has died at 86 due to complications from COVID-19. He died, again, December 12th in Dallas, according to his representatives. He was actually born in Sledge, Mississippi, to parents who struggled to make ends meet as poor sharecroppers. He took a lot of pride in his music early, and he was a talented baseball player. He actually played for the Negro Leagues for the Memphis Red Sox as a pitcher. He actually stepped away from that, and he served in the Army before going back again to the Red Sox, and then was honored with a Lifetime Achievement Award at last month's Country Music Awards. He also took the stage to sing Kiss an Angel, Good Morning. This song was actually released in 1971, and it actually became one of his greatest hits. So when he performed this on Saturday at the Country Music Awards, this was actually his last time, because he literally died like a whole month later. Like I said, he died just the 12th. So he was actually known, and I quote, Charlie Pride is the epitome of a trailblazer. And this was said by Sarah Traherne. She's actually the CEO of the Country Music Awards. She actually said in a statement prior to be given the Lifetime Achievement, where she said, few other artists have grown country music's rich heritage and led to the advancement of country music around the world like Charlie. His distinctive voice has created a timeless legacy that continues to echo through the country community today. We could not be more excited to honor Charlie with one of CMA's highest accolades. And he was actually signed to RCA in 1965. This is actually the same label as Elvis Presley. And he became the label's actually top-selling country music artist according to his representatives. So, in other words, it looks like he kind of passed Elvis in a way for certain things. Because, as you know, Elvis is more of rock and roll, in my opinion. But yeah, his first album was actually called Country. Released in 1966, actually went gold, according to the Recording Industry Association of America. The prolific artist he actually released 41 studio country albums, as well as 2 gospel albums and a Christmas album. 8 of them will be certified gold records. He has also 29 singles that reached number 1 on the U.S. country singles chart. And these are some of the songs here. I will read them out to you all. Maybe you heard of them. All I Have to Offer You Is Me. That was his actually first number 1 single in 1969. And I'm So Afraid of Losing You Again, I'm Just Me, Is Anybody Going to San Antone, and Mississippi Cotton Pickin' Delta Town. Kiss an Angel Good Morning would be actually his biggest mainstream hit, and then rising to number 21 on the Billboard Top 100. So he had number 1 country singles in 1960s, 70s, and 80s. He's actually won 3 Grammy Awards, as well as a Lifetime Achievement Award in 2017, and he was actually inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame in 2000. So, unfortunately, he has left behind his wife, Rosine. He actually been married to her since 1956, and he has 3 children and 5 grandchildren and 2 great-grandchildren. Several country music superstars remember Pride following his death, so Charlie Pride will always be a legend in country music. That was by Reba McEntire, and she wrote this on Twitter. He will truly be missed, but will always be remembered for his great music, wonderful personality, and his big heart. Another one was by Martina McBride, said, so sad to hear about the passing of Charlie Pride, prayers for his wife Rosine and his family. So what I wanted to talk to you guys about is because on Twitter someone said, well, if y'all don't think that he definitely got COVID-19 from singing on that stage, surrounded by all those people in the building, whoever came up to him, saw him, talked to him, whatever it was, and no one wore a mask, what do you think? How do you think he died? You know, I mean, obviously there's certain triggers and effects because of you being older and of you obviously having maybe a sickness or disease from before or anything just to trigger COVID-19 and make it even worse. That's understandable, but come on, guys, no masks? I mean, and then I understand too that mask honestly is really not stopping anything. So it's just really difficult time. But anyway, thank you again, guys. We're going to come into our last segment for the night. Thank you again so much for listening so far.
Want to find out what movies to go see? Then check out the GSMC Movie Podcast. It's your ticket to the latest movies, whether it's a new blockbuster event, romantic, comedy, or action flick. This show has got it all covered. They talk some what to go see now, don't bother, what's hot on Netflix, and everything in between. That's GSMCpodcast.com/movie-podcast. When it's all about the movies, it has to be this new show. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
So our last surprise that I actually want to talk to you all about is actually the Verzuz battle. So since the past few months now of this year, as a way of kind of giving back and as a way of kind of uplifting our spirits and just giving us something to look forward to, a lot of celebrities have been doing this thing on Instagram Live and Apple TV, and it's called the Verzuz battle. And of course, we've seen stars like Young Jeezy versus Gucci Mane. We've seen Brandy versus Monica. And December 12th, we were actually supposed to see Ashanti and Keisha Cole. They were supposed to verse each other. Unfortunately, literally right before, maybe like an hour before it was supposed to start. So it was supposed to be 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and Pacific Time it was supposed to be about 5 p.m. So then there was rumors spreading around literally within this hour before the Verzuz battle even started. And then Ashanti took to her Instagram and stated that she is actually positive for COVID-19. And again, this was literally just an hour right before we had the Verzuz battle even happen. So of course it was postponed and it was canceled. And there was actually a way to listen to some of the Keisha Cole and Ashanti songs and kind of do like their own battle. And the people that were actually streaming it live on YouTube, they are actually called the Script Work, and you can actually subscribe and join to them. But they were doing like their own type of battle, and they kept getting like off-air streaming content because of the fact that because of copyright with YouTube, they were getting a lot of warnings. But they wanted to just keep the party going on. I actually watched it for a good hour, and oh my gosh, just whatever they were using to play the music, first of all, was really, really good. It literally set the ball rolling. It was literally, sometimes they will start off with Ashanti, one of her hit singles, and then Keisha Cole's, it will transition to that. And then there was a time where it will start off with Keisha Cole's hit single and then Ashanti's. And a lot of times we had a few landslides because, you know, like some hits are better than the other, right? And I mean, Keisha Cole's voice is just amazing. But I just loved seeing like the chat. The chat said some very interesting things about the two female vocalists. How, for example, Keisha Cole is considered more of for the culture. And when we say for the culture, we mean like for the hood, for the definition of what it really means to be us, not something that's so commercial. It's kind of just like we're not afraid to be who we are. Whereas Ashanti's more talent relies on something that's more commercial because of the way her talent is, the way her voice is, the way she's written her songs. But it was a lot of back and forth. And again, you can't be biased to things like this. I think both females are phenomenally great and they all have their own style. That's what people have to remember. So you really can't compare both of them. I think they both do a great job when it comes to their songs. And they both actually put out new singles, you know, every few months or every year now or so. So I'm glad that they're still both making music, even though they've come from a different time. But they're able to adapt to this time anyway and work with the artists that are trending now for like, you know, this new day and age, because we all know Ashanti and Keisha Cole for like the early 2000s, and like, you know, like that's literally what my generation, we grew up on when it comes to the way we used to dress. I mean, we had like the old Sidekick phones, we had like Barbie sneakers, we had like the baby fat jackets, you know, that was the style. So I mean, obviously that style really so much now unless they bring it back, but it was amazing times. But unfortunately, yeah, Ashanti is positive for COVID-19. She says she's not in pain or anything like that. She doesn't have any symptoms, but she's positive. And of course, she would have to now social distance herself. So actually, in an article from Billboard.com, Ashanti reveals she tested positive for COVID-19 just hours before her Verzuz battle against Keisha Cole. The pair were set to face off Saturday night, December 12th. Ashanti, who says she's feeling well, first indicated that she was trying to make her side of the event from home happen, but the official Verzuz Instagram account announced a postponement soon after. So she was actually still down. I do remember this because I have her on Instagram. She actually was still down with still doing the show, but just, you know, from a different angle, from a different perspective at her house, instead of going to the Verzuz studio where, you know, so many artists already have done their battles. So she puts in, and she's in a post, she says, "Hey, y'all, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I tested positive for COVID-19. I'm okay. I'm not in any pain. I'm actually really down to do the Verzuz from my house. We're trying to figure it all out." And she wrote that on her Instagram about after 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So like I said, it was literally like a couple hours, like, you know, right before the Verzuz battle, which was supposed to be at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And then they go on Instagram, they said, "Unfortunately, we have to postpone tonight's battle, and beforehand we cannot put anyone at risk at the process. First time this has struck so close to us on Showtime." And first time this has struck us close. So we apologize to our incredible audience. Get well soon, Ashanti. Wear a mask, stay inside, and take COVID-19 seriously. It's truly affecting our community. And again, the battle was scheduled to be at 8 p.m., okay, on the Instagram page and on Apple Music. But right now it has been rescheduled for January 9th, 2021 at 8 p.m. and Eastern Standard Time at 5 p.m. So it's giving them a little time, too, to also warm up and, just give us what they got, right? So someone said, yeah, it's official. The paperwork is in. The official Verzuz Instagram has said when announcing the legendary Ladies Night with a split image of the R&B singer's face earlier in December, which Libra you got. So they're both Libra, so that was pretty cute. So, yeah, we're just going to have to wait, the beginning of next month to actually listen to the Verzuz battle. But again, like I said, there was a few live streams that were going on YouTube, and again, they were playing a lot of back and forth with Keisha Cole and Ashanti. And I really think it's amazing how a lot of these black artists are coming together and just doing it for the community and just doing it for, in general, for the world. If you love this type of music, especially R&B, Ladies Night would have been perfect. But I was literally just typing away, just because it's finals week coming up. As you all know, I am a college student, and it was interesting because I started reminiscing of these memories about all these songs I haven't listened to in so many years, because we all want to stay updated a lot of times with the trend, but there's nothing wrong with listening to music that is not new anymore. I mean, that's the whole point of music, right? It's always there for you to listen to. So I just thought, this was just perfect for you guys to hear about. If you've never heard about the Verzuz battle before, you can literally go on Instagram right now. It is called Verzuz, okay, Verzuz. And again, you can actually watch a lot of different videos that happen. Like, there was Gladys Knight versus Patti LaBelle. So many videos, so many Verzuz battles that already happened. There was Alicia Keys and John Legend. Okay, so there's quite a few of them out there that you can actually watch on there, or you can watch on Apple TV. All right, and again, like Keisha Cole, I mean, she has like this one song called All Me with Kehlani, and recently Ashanti just did a song, I believe it's called Nasty, with DaBaby as well as Megan Thee Stallion. So yeah, just some interesting, updated of how they've been doing. I know Ashanti was traveling. I don't know if she still was traveling like recently during the pandemic or anything like that, but I know she was traveling, for example, to my parents' home country, Trinidad and Tobago, and she did a few songs with Machel Montano. So that was interesting to see her still being international and doing that. The way, like I said, live stream works. So you would have been able to see it like either on Instagram Live. And it's crazy. Here's the funny thing. So here's my funny story. Like I said, was doing, some paperwork, and basically I knew like the Verzuz battle started at 8 o'clock. But then I realized it was 8:30. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm missing it. So I'm quickly going on Instagram and I'm like, where's the video? Where's the video? I'm panicking. And then I saw like a few posts from some of my, just social media friends, and everyone's just like posting and reposting of what happened, over a half hour ago, how Ashanti tested positive. I'm like, this can't be real. So of course I do my research, and like I said, she actually did, and that's why I just gave you all that information. So yeah, it was definitely a shocker. Like, even she said it, like, I can't believe this is happening. So again, please be careful out there, because anyone can be asymptomatic, and it's just not a joke. I mean, again, like, there's a lot of controversy, and I hate talking about the topic, but it's always there now in the media, so it's, like, hard to, like, not even address it or talk about it, especially when it comes to television and media. But, yeah, if for those of you who don't know really too much with, the Instagram Reels, Instagram Lives, that's just another way where you can watch TV. And then, of course, as I stated, if you have Apple TV, then you could have watched it on there too. I do wish they would actually just make it more accessible for, say, someone that uses Android, or if you still use cable TV, you really, and say, for example, if you're not on social media, you really have no way of watching the Verzuz battle unless, of course, you looked it up on YouTube, because, someone just posted it up there. So, of course, I would think the Verzuz battle page, they actually do have a YouTube account. I have never checked myself yet, but that's pretty obvious they probably do. So yeah, if you ever want to watch any of the old Verzuz battles that I've mentioned, there was also Snoop Dogg versus DMX, so you can even watch that as well. So there's a quite few good ones that literally just making history, and I don't think they're stopping this anytime soon. They're gonna keep posting more and more celebrities doing that. Like someone said, mentioned, why don't they do Drew Hill and Jodeci? So, and everyone's just like, you can't do that. Drew Hill will get murdered. So it's pretty funny. It's something to entertain you all. You know, that's all it is, right? So anyway, thank you all for coming in and hanging out with me tonight. It was an amazing night with you all. It was an amazing year with you all. I really, really enjoyed this episode. I hope you did. So thank you for listening to the GSMC Television Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network Group. I would like to ask that you please remember to subscribe to the show and write a nice review. That really helps us. Also, if you can please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thank you, and have a good night.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Television Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.